Now, former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard, she was the Hawaiian congresswoman for many years, has officially joined the Republican Party. She announced the move on stage at a Trump rally in North Carolina.
It is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party.
Kosha, I can't believe that. I mean, it was a few years ago she ended Kamala's campaign to be president. That was brutal. She took her down systematically, and now she's a Republican.
It really is a remarkable evolution. You know, she came on the political scene. Everybody loved her on the other side. She talks about how she grew up a lifelong Democrat. She's a woman. She served in active combat. She's young, you know, good, very articulate communicator. The Democrats loved her, and very quickly, when she arrived as a freshman congresswoman, they gave her prominent positions in the DNC and all sorts of things. And then she talks about this, that at some point, when she was first to pipe up and speak about the fact that she actually is anti-war and doesn't agree with the foreign interventionism that's taken hold of both parties in recent years, they promptly moved to, sweep her away.
Incredible.
And then she tangled with Hilary Clinton, she tangled with Kamala, then she declared herself an independent, and now she's completing her journey and coming on as a GOP, and it's quite remarkable.
And she says they've abandoned their values. She hasn't left them. They've left the values that they once embraced, and there really is no choice. If you don't want to have war, if you value free speech, free expression, there's really only one side of the major parties that you can sit with. Now, the Democrats are in panic mode. We've seen all the Hitler talk, all the fascist talk. And Kamala Harris is, instead of being in the swing states, she's in Texas talking about abortion. I mean, what is the strategy here? Why would she waste any time in a state where she's got zero chance?
So there's only two scenarios in which a candidate would do this. One is they have a complete lock on all the battleground states, they've got it in the bag, and they're trying to expand the battlefield, and no indication so far suggests that's at all the case with her. The other reason is you're kind of on some level throwing in the towel, where you know that the battlefield is shrinking, and you want to throw your support behind the downstream, the down ballot candidates, the Senate and congressional leaders, because sort of the writing might be on the wall for the national, and that's why she's doing that. There's a tight race there with Senator Cruz and his opponent, and maybe she's throwing in there.
So they don't want to lose all three, that they want to have something so that the Republicans aren't.
And throw her support exactly to do that, so that at least...
Surely we're not there yet for them.
I mean, it's very tight, but it is an interesting tell. It is an interesting tell. It's either one, where she's got the whole thing in the bag, and we're all going to be surprised because that's not what the polling or anything indicates, or it's the other, that she's kind of given up and she's helping the lower tier.
Now, former Republican Liz Cheney is back in the Harris-Walz team, and it's rumoured that she is now in the running for a critical position within the administration, if they were to get up, a cabinet post, no less. Is this something that could unify the left and the right? I asked this knowing the answer, but I know there's a lot of people on the left, a lot of people in the media who see this as a win for the Democrats. How do you see it?
In a way, it's no surprise, and it does point to maybe personal career ambition as coloring Liz Cheney throwing down with Kamala Harris on top of her ideological alignment. It also, again, shows that point about how the two parties have really converged in the last 40 years in being the party of war and foreign adventures and all of that. And for her to be in a cabinet position just really underlines that point, which doesn't bode well with the right. She's probably become one of the most hated figures on the right, Liz Cheney, and as evidenced by her loss in Wyoming.
I reckon Kamala's more popular amongst Republicans than Liz Cheney.
She's viewed as almost sort of harmless in a way, or like a puppet or a pawn, as opposed to Liz Cheney is a little bit more malicious.
I think she's seen as a traitor. So I think as someone who has pretended to be on your side and turns out to be anything but, there's more venom for that sort of person. And I think there's people within, you look at how Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is being treated, there's probably more venom for him than there is for a lot of Republicans.
And Tulsi, who we just
and Tulsi, yeah, absolutely. Now, the son of George Soros, Alex Soros, continues to post pictures of himself with leading Democrats. Often they are visiting him in his apartment. Tell me, Kosha, about the influence of Soros and his many foundations on the American political life. He has been enormously successful in influencing the US justice system, for example, and I would argue for the worse. But this is something I think that doesn't get spoken about enough. A lot of money, a lot of effort goes into extending this influence.
Yep, and he's flexing, obviously, because he loves to show those photos of rubbing shoulders with prominent Democrats. And he's flexing that his multi-billion dollars, he's taking over the mantle of his father, George Soros, who's very, very elderly, and he's going to carry on the family business, if you will, which is, as you say, they're very rich, so they can just throw money at different causes and lobby, but they've also been very insidiously effective at influencing local politics and throwing money into races that people don't pay attention to, like the local district attorney, local prosecutors, but that actually really do affect the American way of life. And we've seen that in places like California and Chicago and elsewhere, where they have decriminalized things and don't hold people accountable, don't enforce the law, and just all the mayhem that unleashes. A lot of those fingerprints lead back to the Soros family.
Well, New York Post has done some fantastic reporting on just how far and wide this influence has spread. But you're right, those DA races may not seem significant when you're thinking about who's going to be president, but they have enormous power, and this two-tier justice system, the crime rate, all those sort of issues we talk about emanate from there.
Yeah, it's a big problem, because if people don't enforce the law or prosecute bad wrongdoing, you see crime increase, and then people always point to El Salvador as an example where you go the other direction, and pretty quickly you can see crime decrease, and both George Soros and Alex Soros have been on the first side of that equation.
As we say, elections have consequences. Vote accordingly. Kosha Gada, thanks for your time tonight.
Pleasure.